guys. Welcome to the Buyer's Box podcast, where we focus on agents working with buyers. Today, we have a special guest with us, Mr. Randy Carroll. Mr. Randy Carroll, for some of our listeners, can you tell us who you are?
I am a father of a 15-month-old boy who I love dearly. My wife is amazing. I am the director of strategic partnerships for a company called Rooster, designed to help drive buyer activity. And I am fortunate enough to be entering into my 11th, 12th year in the real estate industry.
Wow, that's some tenureship there, man.
It's all I've ever known. I had a very small career stint outside of real estate for like 8 whole months out of college, and then got into the real estate space on the tech side and have never looked back.
Okay. So, I guess to unpack that a little bit, did you go to school specifically for technology, or how did you fall into the space?
I went to school for broadcast and electronic media. So, in classic fashion, I didn't go into that career that I got a degree in. I went to school in rural North Carolina, and I loved my college experience, but I was really desperate to get back to the city because I'm very much a city person. So I took the first job I could get in Atlanta, where I'm from, and got back to Atlanta, just doing a small little gig here, um, doing a small little gig there. And then I got into the real estate space. It's actually a fun story how I got into the real estate side of it. Um, I joined a rugby team, a men's league rugby team in Atlanta, and we practiced, 2 times a week. And I was really anti like going out during the week. Like I'm a very regimented person, right? So like I go to practice and I go home. But this one Thursday after practice, the guy said, "Hey Randy, come to like our local watering hole that like sponsors the team. Like we'll buy you your beer. Just come have one and hang out." Like, okay, fine, fine. So I went to the local watering hole, and there was a group of businessmen dressed in slacks, suits, all this stuff, looking really professional on the other side of the bar. And we were on the other side, stinky, dirty, covered in mud from rugby practice. And we're just chatting it up. And this like 6'6" Kiwi walks over to us with this deep New Zealand accent. And he like asks us, "Do you boys play rugby? Like, are you ruggers?" He used some very New Zealand phrase. I was like, yeah. We play for the local team in Atlanta. And so we just kind of cut it up for a little bit. During our conversation, another guy walks over, and he asked me about myself. I told him I went to this high school in Atlanta, and he said, "Oh, my wife went to the rival high school." And I looked at him. I was like, "Oh, I feel bad for your wife." And he's like, "Oh, you're a competitive guy. You should come work in sales for me at a little company called Commissions Inc."
Okay. That was
And
little
I
back then.
thought that sounded like a scam
Yeah.
because that name was tough. And so I was like, "All right, that sounds great. I'm kind of happy where I am. Whatever, we'll talk." And so I called my dad later. My dad's in real estate, and I asked him, "Do you need does real estate agents do they need CRMs, technology, lead gen, all this stuff?" Because I didn't know anything at the time. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's a big need. It's a big need in the industry." It's like, okay. So I called the guy back. Guy's name is Jason Hoback. He was the president of Commissions Inc. And long story short, I started working there 10 days later.
Wow. And was this before they were acquired and they were a little company at the time?
Yeah. This was little company at the time. Long before Fidelity acquired them, several years before Fidelity acquired them, before they rebranded to Sync. So it was real small, real gritty, just exactly what you'd expect when you think of a little no name startup.
Okay. And what did you do there? Obviously sales, but like what exactly were you selling?
Yeah, so Commissions at Sync now is a lead gen CRM product. Their like flagship feature set was really their lead generation on the buyer side. So I got exposed to lead gen and buyer, follow up at a pretty early in my career. So I worked in sales for them. Did a short stint selling buyer leads to loan officers as well. We came out with a second product. And then I started hosting events for them for a very, very short period of time before making the move ultimately to Chime.
Okay. Chime, now a lot of us know now Lofty.
Yep.
How long were you there?
I was at Lofty for 2.5 years, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely saw some quick evolving technology. I think from a
Yeah, so I
technology
went to
standpoint.
Lofty to help lead like their event strategy and like uh, partnership sales.
Okay.
And Chime, what I really appreciated about Chime at the time was they were releasing new features literally on a 3 week to monthly basis.
Mhm.
So we were iterating really fast and building a ton of momentum. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. And then how did you get partnered up with Rooster? Because I'm sure that's going to be a great story too, right?
It will probably be the most boring story I tell, actually.
Gosh.
Uh, hate to let y'all down, but I was at Chime at the time, pretty content. The guy who had hired me at Chime had left, actually, so that gave me some pause. But I was actually on vacation, on a very cool vacation to Dubai. It's a different story, but I got a LinkedIn message from the founder of Rooster who basically said, I have this product, I have this idea. I don't have real estate experience. What do you think about coming and helping me get this off the ground? And I sent him a response that said, hey, happy to talk, but I'm on the other side of the world. I'll message you in 3 weeks when I'm home. If you're still interested, then we can pick it up from there. And we did. I liked the concept. Left a very good position at Chime and really excited. I mean, I've been at Rooster now for 4+ years and it's been an incredible ride.
Okay. Now, obviously, I think some of our listeners are going to intimately know what Rooster is. Um, I know for a very long time, everyone thought you were just, you were the app company. And I know you guys have definitely evolved from that. So, in a nutshell, if no one has ever heard Rooster and they're like, what the heck? That's a crazy name. What is Rooster?
Yeah, so we actually took the hardest path possible developing a product because we did start on the mobile app side where our product was exclusively a mobile app, and there's some really great concepts around that I can talk about. But we started with the hardest feature set first, and then we moved downhill. So we have a lot of momentum because everything else is kind of easier once you get through that. And our product is designed to be a database engagement tool. The net of it is um, real estate teams, brokerages have spent tons of money generating leads. So they have this big database of leads. But the tools in the marketplace today are not aligned with the buyer buy cycle, right? It takes buyers on average, according to NAR, and this has been the stat for forever, it takes them like 19 months to transact, right?
It's a long time.
As soon as they hit the CRM, 19 months later, there you go. And so most tools on the marketplace today stop nurturing those leads after 12 months. So you have this delta of 7 months where the lead is totally forgetting you exist. Mm. And so we come in and our strength is getting people re-engaged with you, helping you generate opportunities out of the leads you've already paid for, which are typically the most profitable set of leads in your business, in your database.
Yeah.
And we do this through some AI components, some personalizations, but and our product is a little more robust than that. But at a high level, we help engage leads at the top of the sales funnel, and through kind of our robust feature set, we nurture them through the sales funnel into closing and keep them in your ecosystem post closing.
Okay, and that's super cool. Now, are most Rooster users still using the app? I mean, is that still pretty popular?
Yeah. So it's part of the whole sales funnel component, right? So if we start at the top of the sales funnel, generating opportunities, through email marketing, then as people progress in their seriousness of buying, or as they connect with agents and they move through the sales funnel, they kind of graduate to downloading the app and searching in a more collaborative way. And so that's part of like the nurturing and lead conversion process. But I would say a very small percentage of people come to Rooster and say, I've needed an app, so now I'm going to have one. They come to us saying, I've got this big database of leads, help me convert them.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I guess kind of last question around this particularly. So obviously a guy that's been in the real estate space for tech for some time, and you worked for two rather large companies before you came to Rooster. Like for a listener that maybe has some of these other products, like outside of I guess just them stopping that email at that month 12, and gosh, some providers are even quicker. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what else or what else would you say like really differentiates like Rooster compared to like another IDX provider or Vow or whatever other service that an agent might be looking at?
Sure, sure. So I would say our we have competitors on feature sets, but we don't have a competitor who does everything that we do, right? So if you're saying to yourself, like if you take a step back and look at your business and say, and I look at my customer journey through my business and say, I have a broken sales funnel or I have a discontinuous consumer journey through my business from the first day they registered on my website to the day they close. No company fills those gaps in each step the way that we actually do. You have various tools that you put together to address that full set of features. So I think that's something that the marketplace is still wrapping its head around because it's not used to this. I would say that tools like Sync and Lofty, they're phenomenal. They're all-in-one products where you can sign up with them from soup to nuts, but you're just going to have shortcomings when someone wants to be everything to everyone. Like I often talk about how you can't be everything to everyone and expect to convert any leads, right? You have to be authentically yourself, and you're going to convert much higher than you think. But you're obviously going to turn off people who aren't attracted to your personality type, which is totally fine. And
Yeah,
all-in-ones can kind of have the same effect.
I found out that grandmas love me, and I work with a lot of retirees. I was raised by my grandparents, and I didn't really think about that really early on in my career, but like my bread and butter, my business is retirees. A lot of retirees that are relocating here. So I
That's
run from
awesome.
that, you know, and I went on a listing appointment yesterday with a guy who was 82 years old. And half the conversation wasn't even talking about listing his house. It was just talking about him and his life and everything cool that he's done. And gosh, he was 82, probably outrunning some guys I know that are, my age.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. You know this about yourself. You know these are the people who I appeal to, and you don't have to pretend. And you don't have to try to appeal to, folks outside of your kind of personality set. And that's totally fine. There's enough business to go around.
I agree. All right. So I want to kind of talk about growth. Obviously, you've been at Rooster for like you said, over 4 years.
Mhm.
And I know we kind of run around in some of the same circles of coaches and, events. I've definitely seen you at plenty of events now. Kind of talk about that growth, maybe early on, and then like what did Rooster do within, say, like the last 12 months? It's just really put you guys on fire.
Yeah, the growth story is a fun one because it's not all sunshines and roses. When we started, it was hard, man. It was really hard. We were, as a company, figuring ourselves out, figuring out what is our niche, what is our value prop, what are we doing to move the needle in a measurable way for our clients? Like, how are you tying our product to an ROI? Because that's what really matters at the end of the day.
Right.
Your tech company, your tech products need to either save you time measurably or make you money measurably, right? Ideally, they do both, but they need to at least do one of the two. And so we were just figuring that out, and growth was slow at the start. And we worked with some folks who, in retrospect, our product was not a good fit for them. So that wasn't easy. But once we really figured out our avatar is large database teams who aren't afraid of who are chasing aggressive growth, right? Once we figured that out, we kind of lit on fire, and a lot of that is because of the marketing coaching that we did with the Cheplaks, Alec Cheplak, namely. But we've been, attending John's events. I actually, tongue in cheek, say that we're responsible for John taking sponsors at events.
No kidding.
And I've said this to him kind of in a funny way, but we showed up to John's event in Tahoe. We just showed up. We bought an online ticket because the in-person tickets were sold out. That being said, the online tickets were the same price, mind you.
Yeah.
And we showed up and we're like, hey, John, we're here. Events always have last minute cancellations. We bought a ticket. Can we come sit inside? And John, to his credit, said, hey, man, I appreciate you being here. It means a lot. We don't have sponsors. We don't have vendors inside. And I know that you're not a slimy sales guy that's just going to pitch to everyone you talk to, but inevitably it will come up that you're not an agent and that you are a vendor.
Yeah.
And I can't have that distraction in my room. So I'll give you your money back. And you can't come inside. Whoa. And we said, no, keep the money. We're going to watch online. So we sat in the lobby, watched online. And when people were done with the event, we talked with them there. The next event John did, he reached out. We're doing sponsorships.
I love it.
And that's kind of a funny story, but it has meaning. Then there's a takeaway in this. We identified this community was really valuable, that it was full of our avatar. It was full of our ICP, whatever sales terminology you want to use, that it had the people that we wanted to partner with. And so we just said, we're going to go put ourselves in that community. And that's part of our growth, is we poured deeply into the communities that we wanted to be a part of. And in return, they've reciprocated tenfold.
That's awesome to hear. So to our listeners who might not know who the Cheplaks are, who John is, John Cheplak, he's a real estate coach. Gosh, he's been doing it for a really long time. You can maybe think of maybe like a Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry, similar event situation. John's always been around recruitment. He's known for a term called KFR, which keep freaking recruiting for the young listeners.
That is the PG way.
Today. Yeah. Allie and I, we are actually in coaching with him. Our team growth has been amazing. Our sales growth has been phenomenal as well. So I can only imagine connecting with that. We've only gotten to go to one Tahoe event. Gosh, being here in South Carolina, it's the other side of the world, it feels like.
Yeah, it's hard.
But we had so much takeaway. We got to go this one last year, and we did some like one-on-one sessions with Alex. So I'd like to dive into that because, I get a call every Monday with John. Could text his phone, ask him questions if needed, but I'm not coaching one-on-one with Alex. Like, what exactly did he tell you guys over at Rooster to do, and like, what have you implemented, and what's been the outcome?
Yeah, so the first thing that changed when I was working with Alec was just simply my mindset. Like, I'm kind of you've got sales and marketing, and I'm much more oriented towards the sales side. But the truth is, unless you have someone to sell to, you're not very useful as a sales guy. So we really had to get into the mindset around being marketers and expand the way that we were pouring value into communities, right? So he helped us kind of refine our thought process around who our avatar is, get really, really specific into who that avatar is. Like, he provided kind of a framework to define avatar outside of just like the way we felt that day. So that was really, really helpful. And once we did that, we were able to develop kind of a social media strategy around that avatar. Like, one of the things that I hear Alex say every day in my head when I sit down at my computer and open up Facebook is sending friend requests is a money-making activity. So find your avatar that are somewhere in your circle and friend request them on Facebook. Literally. That's going to get them exposure to the content that you're throwing out there. I actually called someone who I'd never spoken to yesterday, and she said she thanked me for my social media content. We had never spoken before, mind you. She thanked me for what I had posted, for what I have been posting, because it's value, value, value. It's not like, every once in a while you post a Rooster win, but it's you lead with value. Here's something that's helpful. Here's something that's helpful. And I called this person. I was doing my calls, prospecting. I called her. She said she recognized who I was when I introduced myself, even though we'd never spoken before. And she thanked me for the content. And she's like, "Yeah, let's set up an appointment for for next week." So I was able to book a sales call because I was posting social media content.
Yeah.
People someone messaged me in Facebook Messenger the other day and said, "Hey, it's probably about time I take a look at Rooster." It's like, you know what? It is probably about time, even though we had never had any dialogue before.
Yeah.
So Alec was instrumental in helping us understand how we can turn a personal Facebook profile into a business generating machine, which was totally a new concept to us because we were trying to figure out what our paid marketing strategy was going to be. What PPC keywords are we going to begin to run?
Are you doing any of that?
No, we're not doing any of it.
Wow.
So we completely abandoned that strategy, went all in on sending our friend requests, posting 3 times a day, giving value. And I go to events and people say, "Hey, I've seen your stuff on social media. Y'all are doing great. Love your stuff."
So tell me, in this last year, gosh, I definitely see you post, and everyone at Rooster I'm seeing posts, which is super awesome. What kind of growth has that, like, percentage wise, been on your business?
In 2025, we more than doubled the business.
Wow, with zero paid ads.
Zero paid ads.
Yeah, that's definitely
the only money we spent was coaching and attending events, but it was zero paid ads.
How many events last year? I know you guys are always on the road.
Oh gosh, I think I racked up 90 to 100 hotel nights.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, certainly not a record I want to break.
Oh yeah, especially new father.
That's right.
I
Yep.
have 4 myself. And
Wow, good for you.
early on, I traveled and worked really long hours and missed out on things that I now wish I wouldn't have. But sometimes when you're early on building that business, sometimes it's what it takes, and the person that will get up and go do it. So it's respectful at the same time.
My wife is a saint for putting up with it. I'm really just grateful that I'm able to do this, and thankfully our Rooster team is growing, so I'm not going to have to be the one to attend every event this year.
Okay. So some of those marketing strategies, I've heard Alec Cheplak say you can apply this to any business.
Mm-hmm.
And I even think you just had a speaking event out in Vegas kind of about this. So what could you share with our listeners, what they could be doing on social media, or maybe some tips and tricks that they could do to generate some more business without spending any dollars?
Yes. So the marketing strategy that we got from Alec and the coaching we're getting from Alec was actually designed originally for real estate agents. We as a tech company were the ones who were trying to figure out how it applies to our business. So this really is for you, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, right? This is very much for you. One of the things that I think is heavily underutilized, it's kind of a free resource, is building Facebook groups for your community, right? I talked about finding your avatar, finding what type of people that you want to be working with, or maybe the community that you want to work within, right? I live in a really small town called Santa Rosa Beach. Even within Santa Rosa Beach, there are pockets of our community that if I was an agent, I would want to target these specific things, these specific places, right? There's a 1,000-house neighborhood called Watercolor. And the average price point in there is like multi-million dollars. So 1,000 homes, multi-million dollar average price point. You don't have to sell that many to have a great life, right?
Yeah.
And what I see folks do who have a great deal of success in this category is creating those Facebook pages that are Facebook groups. And Alec talked about this in detail at the event you mentioned. But creating that group and just being the go-to source for happenings, things that are going on, updates, things you ought to know about watercolor or just your community that you've selected or hobby that you love. Real estate is so unique in the sense that we all need shelter.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone needs a house. So you don't actually have to sell really on anyone on the idea of, do you need a home? Like directionally, people, yes, they need a home. You can dig a little deeper and argue between renting and buying and so on. But the American dream is buying a home. That is undisputed, right? So you don't need to go sell why someone should buy a home. That typically sells itself. So with that being understood, you can find your community of people. You can find your hobbies, your geographic location, things that you love, and you can just pour into those. That will attract people, and those people need shelter. So when you create this free Facebook page, group, what have you, get folks invited to it, post what's going on in that area. And we have a client who manages 120 different Facebook groups, and it's wildly successful.
120. Holy
yeah, he's in multiple markets and so on and so forth, and he's got a really eclectic set of interests. So he does things for all stuff like tacos, literally a group about tacos.
I love it. Where's the
Who doesn't love tacos, right?
Beach, right? Yeah. Okay. And that's
So,
being able to cast a wide net.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think if you have a team or you're on a team, like we tell our agents all the time, like leverage your teammates, leverage your resources you have, and gosh, you might not get along with that person, but your teammate might, and vice versa. So
Certainly.
All right, so definitely and friend requesting people, so that's huge. Running these groups
20 a day. That's all you need.
20 a day. Okay. And then you're only posting 3 times a day. Like a minimum.
I would say that should be the minimum. Sometimes I do a little bit more. Sometimes I do less, which I shouldn't. But yeah, 3 times a day. But I'll tell you what, I went to, at Alec's event. John was like the first presenter of the day. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. He walks up there with his phone. You can see him clicking on it. He goes, I just posted my 7th Facebook post of the day.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
it has to be in like groups and stuff. He's doing this, right?
Very, very possible. I didn't fact check him on it. And that's definitely extreme. Like, do not hear me as saying that you need to do that now. But start with 3 a day. 3 a day. 1 personal. People like to know who they're working with, right? 1 value add. Here's something valuable to know. And the third is really, really important that you do this tactfully. Tell a story of someone that you helped win, but make sure that the person you're telling the story about is the center of attention in the story. You are not the center of the attention. Absolutely. Right? Your client got this outcome that everyone is envious of, and you were just there to facilitate.
Yeah. I think oftentimes the agent thinks they have to be the hero.
That's right. Yeah. The agent is not designed to be the hero in these situations. You're not the hero. People aren't interested in you telling hero stories about yourself,
Mm-mm.
but they'll be thrilled to hear about the stories of someone that you helped as long as you're telling the story about them first. So,
Yeah. We've started doing some of the social media stuff on a small scale. Um, I think I post a little bit more so than my wife. I try to schedule like 5 or 6 a day.
I love it. That's great.
And I've leveraged, like great content that I'm hearing from other people. So like if I see something that I think someone else would get value from, I don't necessarily copy it word for word by any means, but like I make it Andrew Burnett's version.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've also, I've used AI, especially like creating images and stuff like that. Like I had a funny one the other day where I was holding a lobster with a six pack, and I
I
definitely
saw
don't
that.
have,
That was good,
yeah,
dude.
I definitely don't have a six pack, but um,
Same.
maybe one day. So yeah, I mean we've definitely seen some success, and especially like from a team leader standpoint. Like we sit down with agents now at as for interviews to partner with us, and they know a little bit about us now. So I can only imagine that's really how it's working for you on your on your demo calls and your sales calls. So I guess I really appreciate you spending some time with me today, Randy. I always kind of end this with some rapid questions. Um, and I'm excited to hear because you're a tech guy, especially for this first one, and then, kind of wrap it up. But first question, what is, in your opinion, the best CRM?
Totally loaded question, too. I will say the majority of our clients use follow up bosses or CRM. I am personally very excited about SureSend.
Yeah. Preston's in our market. I'm seeing him post all the time about it. Um, I told him if we sign up, he's got to come, train us in person.
Hey, man, if you're in the market, they definitely should. Opportunity missed if they don't.
Yeah. All right. Second question. What is one daily metric or a weekly metric that you're focusing on in your business that's moving the needle?
Um, it's really not that different from the real estate space. I love what Dustin Runyon teaches about 21 or 22-minute conversations a day. Um, I'm trying to run as many demos as I can.
Right.
That's the more demos that I run at Rooster, the more I know we will bring on new clients. So, um, setting those demos moves the needle. I will tell you, because of the groundwork we put in with this social media, you will, if you start this strategy, you will feel like you're yelling into the void. You will feel like it's not working. You will feel like no one sees it. I promise you will
Yeah.
feel that way. Just keep going because it makes the conversations, it adds up over time and it makes the conversations easier. Um, that
Have you,
I have experienced that firsthand, and I'm certain you will as well.
I guess one question I didn't ask about that. Did you guys monetize your page at all?
I did.
Okay. So you
I
don't
think
think that doesn't hurt the algorithm or anything like that?
I didn't even bother looking. I got a notification that said like click here to monetize, and I clicked.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of brainless about it. It's not a thing that I measure or care about. I just thought it was funny.
Allie and I were laying in bed last night laughing. We've made about $80 in
There
about,
it is.
yeah, like I don't know, 5 or 6 months.
Forget real estate.
Yeah,
Facebook
yeah, yeah.
influencer.
Facebook, and I told her, I'm like, look, we're gonna save this up and get a little weekend getaway out of it.
Hey, dude, that'd be pretty cool actually. I didn't even think about that. I used my Facebook payout the other day to pay for ice cream, so that was pretty cool.
All right, fair enough. All right, so last question here, man. I know you're in all the great rooms because I see you posting about it, and you're around all some of my favorite people. But is there a book that you've read, in your life that maybe's changed your, outlook on business or life, or something that's just really, been a good pivotal book for you?
I'll tell you my favorite book I've ever read that had an impact on my life is a book called The Bitcoin Standard.
Okay.
Um, if you hear that title and hear the word Bitcoin and you get triggered, read the first 7 chapters of that book and ignore the rest.
Okay.
The first 7 chapters are nothing about Bitcoin. So just read those. And if Bitcoin triggers you, don't read the rest.
Heard. All right. And super last thing, Randy, if anyone wanted to contact you, obviously was interested in Rooster, just wanted to be your friend, what's the best way to get in touch with a guy like you?
I'm on Facebook, Randy Carroll, 2 R's, 2 L's. Go to rooster.com, Ruuster. That's Rooster with 2 U's, Ruuster.com. But Facebook and our website, if you submit anything on our website, I'll see it. So um, those are probably the easiest ways.
Awesome. Well, Randy, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I'm sure people are going to get some positive impact, some actual things that they can do at their business. And I'm super excited to continue watch you personally, but Rooster as well, continue to crush business. And hopefully I see an event soon.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for having me. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.